Hey guys, welcome to your Fridays in your Max Salary Week. I'm Dr. Mirdalis Diaz, and I'm the creator of the Design Your Physician Life podcast and also the Max Salary Mastermind. And we're waiting for our guest today. We had a wonderful episode this week, and I hope that you go back and listen to it. It was how to basically reinvent yourself with and without medicine. And if there's something that's constant, is change. For sure, we're going to have change in our lives. And many of us will have changes in our personal and professional lives that will make us go and have drastic decisions really in our lives. So Dr. Sundar was very wonderful, telling us her story of change, how she has decided not to only change, but make changes that now will help others, and how she's been doing that in her new life. And she's going to be joining us today to tell us a little bit more about her story. So we're very excited. In our case, I have to tell you, as a physician, I've changed different times. We've changed, different times in terms of our profession, and we've had different hats that we've worn, especially things that change in your life that you have to reinvent yourself, like when you're now, like from all the steps that we go through in life, through our studies, through our relationships with others, moving places, having changes with our family, within our family. When you become a parent, that's a huge change. And then when you're in relationships, love relationships, and then those changes, then you have also to reinvent yourself many times. In our case, right now, I have to tell you that after so many years as an interventional pain doctor, I still have that hat, but I have also been able to help physicians and patients in other ways that I was not expecting to do. So now we have this where I see myself, doing podcasts and doing these Facebook Lives and things that I would have never imagined doing. And it does take practice, it does take a lot of work, but we do it out of love, out of passion, and then we educate ourselves. So when you're reinventing yourself, there's many reasons that will go behind that. The good thing is that we have learned to see them as worthy challenges. That's something that's very important when you're thinking, now I have this problem situation in my life, or a new way of looking at life where you want to change where you are. And then you see that as a worthy challenge instead of, that's hard, I'm not going to be able to do this, it's going to be so hard, I'm going to be going through a divorce, I'm going to be going through the end of my practice, COVID came, and then my practice was closed, I could not see patients, and then all those things call for changes in our attitude and many times in our skills. And that's some of the things that Dr. Sundar has had to do, and she explains her story in our podcast earlier this week. It was released on Tuesday. One of the things that I don't know if you know, guys, that now you can see the podcast and you can see these Facebook Lives in our new YouTube channel, which is called Max Salary Mastermind. And Kate is going to put their link for that. Is Max Salary Mastermind is MAXALLURE, and we have our new cohort coming soon. I'm going to see if I don't see that Dr. Sundar is here already yet, ready to ask for permission to come. So when you're coming in, just ask for permission to come in, and then I'll bring you here. So let's talk about things that as physicians we have to adapt. I just came from 2 different meetings as an interventional pain doctor. In that life, I go through and I talk at national and state level. Those were 2 meetings that I went. One of them was the American Society of Pain and Neuroscience, and the other one was the Florida Society of Interventional Pain Physicians. And so Dr. Sundar is in the house, Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and she's trying to get in. Let's have you go back out of the live and then come back in, and then we should see you when you come back in. It has happened before, so take the link again, and then Kate can also put the link there. So thank you for your patience in doing that again. So through these meetings, one that's a constant that we've seen is the need for physicians to really reinvent ourselves. When I've had in living in the insurance model, and most of us are in that insurance model, we're seeing how the reimbursements have been decreasing through the years. In our practice, in our interventional pain practice, we grew to 2 clinics. Within those clinics, we had different businesses. We didn't only have the pain management clinic where the patients come and you see them, for your skills as pain doctor. Then we had all the ancillary services that we had to do to grow. And then we also had, let me see here. So allow viewers to request. So you have to request to join. There you are. So I'm gonna bring you on video. I'm gonna send you an invite and bring you in, Dr. Sundar. So we had also all the ancillaries, and every time we're doing an ancillary, really like you're reinventing yourself. Whenever you're doing durable medical equipment, you have to learn everything that comes with that. You have to learn the regulations. You must learn how to bill for that through the insurances and which insurances take what or not. Also, when we had the labs, we had a toxicology lab in our clinic, and for that, it takes time for you to become the medical director for that. So you have to learn, you have to reinvent yourself, and that comes with its whole set of regulations as well. We also had physical therapy, we had acupuncture. So every single part of that, you're reinventing yourself as a physician within the clinic. And when we know, let's see, Dr. Sundar, are you still, I asked for you to come. It says that it's adding you. Can you try to click on that and see? Like I have added you. So every time, no answer from the live video guest. So I'm going to invite you again, Dr. Sundar. I'm going to send you an invite. It says unable to add guests. Let me try to do that. And okay. So let's have you try it one more time. We've done this before. I know we have. I'm thinking that you're not out. I'm going to try to see. There you go. I'm adding you. So every time you go through the business, you really have to go and reinventing yourself within medicine. And that's when you have a business, you can basically increase income via 3 ways. One way is that you are increasing the amount that you're selling to somebody. You are increasing price. That's the second way. And the other way is that you're selling different, you're getting more people to see you. So in medicine, in terms of insurance medicine, what we're doing right now is that we're seeing more and more and more people, right? And as physicians, as humans, we have a cap where we can provide safe care for our patients. So each of us will know what our cap is in terms of the services that we can provide as physicians. So that's part of it. Then the second part is increasing prices. We really cannot increase prices as physicians in our clinics. So we then can do the other thing, which is, so for some reason, Dr. Sundar, I'm sending you an invitation and it's not answered. So let's try this one last time. Let's have you come out of the meeting, come back into the meeting, and then request to be added. Okay? So then the getting the ancillaries is the way that we're doing it. And every time we do that, we're kind of reinventing ourselves as physicians, right? In medicine, through our mastermind, we have seen that many of our people who come through the mastermind, they're reinventing themselves inside medicine and outside of medicine. So we have a lot who are using their skills to become coaches and become trainees of others, like Dr. Sundar has done, and she tells us the story there in our podcast. The other thing that we've seen is that people are doing services and products outside of medicine. Right now, we're very excited. We have somebody who's in the fashion world in our mastermind, and they are doing something that's really quite unusual that they're bringing to the market. And we hope to see that within the next year coming to the market, and they're in the mastermind. So they are reinventing themselves for that. We have spent all this time being physicians, right? We have learned, we really have not had the skills developed. Let's see. Okay, so Dr. Sundar, she's been trying. Let me have you go back to the, if you have the page, go back to the meeting, and then I'll invite you myself there. And then there's a little icon that has a little person and another little person. I invite you through there. So come back, and then I'll get you on. So these people are reinventing themselves, and we are able to do that because you have developed the passion. Now they have gone and developed the knowledge, and they have taken the time to be able to plan, to create project plans that are going to be developed, and they have the accountability and support to do so. Many times in medicine, we're really overwhelmed with what's happening, with all the changes in medicine. I'm going to tell you something. Right now, I've been burnout, and I've reinvented myself in different ways, going back to entrepreneurship, which is what really saved me. Here you are. No, I cannot give you. That's you. So, Kalpana, when you come in, I'll bring you. Hi, everybody who's joining us right now. So, reinventing ourselves within medicine is doable. Right now, we have AI coming through. I have to tell you that having burnout, as I was saying, and with these challenges that we have of AI, it's like we really have not much time to react, not much time to really be burnout, in the sense that, we can be upset, we can be facing all these challenges, but the truth is that we really have to jump out of that. And that's what we're trying to do with our physicians, helping them to do that, so that that you have the support and you will have the accountability to be able to transform yourself. If you want to continue servicing these patients, we all need the care of physicians who are going to be involved in the industry with insurance, so that we care for these patients. We have to do something about it. So within medicine, we have to reinvent ourselves, or we must reinvent ourselves outside of medicine, so we can find that joy in our lives somehow, and then be able to practice. Not only medicine is where we find the struggles with burnout. Is usually going to be something that's going to be for work, but it can happen anywhere. It can happen in love relationships. It can happen when we're caring for others. We can have that problem of burnout, but it's usually at work. One of the things that is very important for us to understand is where happiness comes from. And I'm talking these are going to be the basics of why people want to reinvent themselves, either in their professions, in this case medicine, or outside of medicine. And when we are talking about happiness, we have to talk about the components of happiness. One of those components is like being all the time, like when you have things that really excite you, that are like that discovery, and you're able to find that in your situation at work or outside of work, that's going to be one of the components that's going to continue, contributing to that happiness and staying away from being burnout. Another thing is the sense of being able to contribute, to have purpose and gratitude in your life. And for these conferences that I was going to, not only we're having the challenges of what's being imposed in terms of insurance changes in our lives, because we're really working for others, we're determining what we make as physicians, but we're also seeing challenges that, for example, for pain physicians here in Florida, where I am, it's being extremely difficult, and I'm pretty sure through the United States too, to get medication, certain medications for patients. There's different reasons why we're not getting it. But what happens is that the patients are being prescribed these medications for a long time, and now they're not getting access to them. So now we are the ones in the receiving end, getting those calls from the patients. I cannot find my medication, and then we start to change them to medications. They might require prior authorization. They might still not find those medications, and then they call angry to your office, and then you're there, trying to be seeing all in that experience of your workday, trying to find your purpose, trying to stay in tune with being in the flow of things, and then you're having all these challenges, right? Of the patients calling angry to your office, or the pharmacist calling angry to your office because they want now notes from you and all these things. And so you have all these challenges from outside, okay? And we're talking about reinventing ourselves in medicine and outside of medicine. And then we're now exploring, burnout and how it happens, and then the happiness and how happiness contributes to that. It turns out that there's a book that's being cited where they describe that happiness, 50% of the happiness is genetics, 10% is what's happening in our environment, and 40% is what we do about it with intentional behaviors. So if they say, okay, you're born with these genes that are gonna say, if you're kind of a happy person or a more unhappy person, that's preset. It turns out that we can turn on and off those genes, right? And we can turn those on and off with what things we're doing. A lot of that lives actually in lifestyle medicine, believe it or not. Lifestyle medicine, the pillars are sleep, you're managing your stress, managing what you eat, staying with good relationships. And it's hard at times to have good relationships at work where you're having so much stress from the outside. And then the staying away from control, or dangerous substances, and I'm missing, and then exercise, right? So those are the pillars of lifestyle. It turns out that a lot of the things that we can do to manage our happiness live within lifestyle medicine. The 10% is what's happening in our environment. What's happening when we have in medicine would be all those challenges that we have with administration, with the insurance, with the patients not being able to find the care that they need because they don't have the medications available to them. So that's the 10%. So for us to be able to reinvent ourselves, we have to understand what happiness is, how you can achieve that. So we can do that through that 40%. Then once we know that, yes, we can be happy because we can change that, there's a lot of it that we can decide to do that lives within lifestyle medicine. That's why they tell you, like breathing and the yoga and all these things, and that part is there. Then how we're going to apply those things to changes in our professional life and our personal life. So in talking to Dr. Sundar, I'm sorry that you have not been able to connect. I'm here. I'm going to try to get you again there. I'm sending you the invite again. So if we put that into her life, for example, the challenges that she's had to change from a pre-COVID to a post-COVID in her professional life, in her personal life, changing from a person who's been married with a family to a person. There you are. There she is.
Finally, I got
on. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited to be here. I'm telling you, like I'm trying to go through the steps of reinventing yourself, and now we don't have much time in burnout, especially with AI and all this stuff coming and all these things. So and inviting people. So I'm gonna just finish this thought, and then we'll go on to do some questions. So then the point is that now to reinvent ourselves, and like the same way that you've been able to do in your lives, you did not only have that passion behind you, you also acquired that knowledge, and then you had some people also guiding you to be able to achieve those changes that you were able to achieve. In some instances, you've gone through it kind of alone because that's what the situation required, and you had to move quickly with what was happening. And then in other situations, and you've had some time like to sit back and then learn and then get more resources. So here we are. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you. Sorry it wasn't working.
Yeah. It's always an adventure, as I said, but I think it's worth it. And then, as I'm telling everybody right now, everybody who's watching, please hashtag live, hashtag replay. You're gonna be able to see this whole thing in YouTube, and also in Facebook, and also in our new YouTube channel that we have, where we put all our podcasts, and our Facebook lives are there. It's called Max Over Mastermind. And one thing that I didn't mention was that we have a new book talking about reinventing yourself. If you own a clinic, we have a book that's 45 questions to inspire growth in the medical clinic, and Kate's gonna put that in the comments so that you can go and click on that and get access to that free book that we have. So you've had medical clinics, and you've had medical spas, and you've had to reinvent yourself. How would you tell the people here that, a little bit of a summary of what you've been through?
Well, I think so much of what I've done has involved a lot of self-reflection along the way, like you said. So knowing how to run a medical practice, knowing how to run medical spas, it felt like the next best step for me, because I didn't want to actually do so much of the injections and all that and dealing with the patient. The next best step was to do the supervisory role, which has really been great for me in consulting with other medical spas and being a medical director. That's worked out really well. And then obviously speaking was another aspect of it. Becoming an author was another aspect of it. So it's been quite the journey.
So tell us, how have you seen like your personal life and your professional life being guiding one another through these reinventions of Dr. Sundar?
I think before, when I was practicing medicine in my ENT practice and my medical spas, I felt like there was a separation between my professional life and my private life. Now it's weird because I think I've had such a great integration of both of those things, meaning that the same types of people I like to do business with and work with are actually people that I enjoy having as part of my personal life. So there's a blending. And it's interesting because they tell you to keep all of that separate, but I'm starting to wonder why it necessarily has to be. Because if you have the people that you enjoy working with and being with, and you can also be friendly with them, why not?
So one of the things I was mentioning earlier were the components of happiness. I didn't mention all of them, but you're touching in one of them, which is well, on two of them. One is having the good relationships, which is also part of not only happiness but lifestyle medicine touches on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is having the work-life balance. And there were some studies with a bunch of Germans a long time ago, and they found that people who are trying to only find happiness uh, in work, they're the least happy. So if they focus on the areas that have to do with the family and your principles have to do with those things outside of work, people were happier than people who were finding only at work. So I think when you're able to balance those two things and you find those relationships also in work in a way that you can achieve the whole, what we say, ikigai, where you have the combination of all these things where you are able to flourish, then that's perfect. And that seems, like right now, would you say, like, from your reinvention of yourself, do you think that you feel happier now when you had only like the clinic or the spa, or is this just a different stage for you?
I think I definitely feel happier, more fulfilled. I feel like I've achieved what's called rather than work-life balance, I think what I've achieved is a work-life integration. So for example, last night I had an event here at in my apartment building with one of my nurse practitioners, and she and I have become friends. And that's okay as long as there's boundaries and there's mutual respect and we understand where each other, what our roles are respectively. So basically we had the event, it turned out really great and it was good for her, it was good for me. And then we went out to dinner afterwards and enjoyed some great conversations. So that's what I'm saying. I felt like it was a work event, but she's become somebody that I'm very friendly with. So it didn't feel like work. And I think that's where it becomes really enjoyable. And last time we spoke, you had asked me about what my plans were for the book, and I wasn't at liberty to say. But now I'm planning a book tour where I'll go to four cities that I choose to go to and do a talk in each of the cities. And I'm also working on a event of my own for women's empowerment. So again, all of these things are aligning so beautifully that I'm collaborating with people that I like, that I'm friendly with, and it just doesn't feel like work.
That's one of the things that we want to try to achieve for physicians, really working for joy and not for need. And it seems that you've been doing that pretty well. Right now, you're talking about a book. And when we talk about books, people say, like, we just released our book, right? And
Mm-hmm.
our book is a free book for physicians. And I'm not going, this book in particular doesn't have the intention of being sold. It has, in this case, the intention of just being shared so that people know what they're capable of at their clinic. We do have some other books, but whenever you're releasing a book to the extent that you're releasing yours, it's really, it goes with the whole marketing, and it's you're going to 4 different cities, and right now you're reinventing yourself. You're not only the physician who's been a physician, a business owner, and had this other the medical spas and has been teaching others, but now you're an author. So now for this part, you're reinventing yourself, and now you have to create all these things. So tell us about how has that process been, in the sense of, who do you have, a coach? Do you have a company? Have you been doing this alone with somebody to be able to reach this point where you're not only writing a book, releasing a book, and then having a book tour?
So it has been quite the journey. So a lot of times I will interact with people. People will contact you on LinkedIn and you just hear what they have to say. And then I let all of that percolate for a while to see what's the right next step for me. So as far as the book tour, there was a company that I'm going to be working with, and I liked their plan on how to really do the book tour. Because again, if somebody's already got the process figured out, it's easier for them to help you along the way rather than you trying to figure it all out. I knew the intention of what I wanted. I just didn't know how to, all the components to it can be challenging,
So I
especially when you're busy with a million other things.
exactly right, but precisely like right now, if we have a lot of people who approach us and then they want to write a book,
Mhm.
right? And then the first thing they ask is like, how much is that gonna cost me?
Mm.
And when we're talking about this, it's like we're not talking about necessarily like it costs the investment and then the return on investment. So when you're writing a book to this extent that you're writing it and you're going on a tour, you're expecting to have a return on that. So rather than just saying how much that's gonna be, how much this company is gonna cost you, you should have like a business plan also for that book where you have all these things lined up. So tell us, for somebody here who's thinking about, reinventing themselves and write a book, which can be inside or outside of medicine, and you already have this particular book, and you talk about both your personal and professional lives. What would they need to reinvent themselves from being a physician to be also a writer and then having success with their book?
The first big challenge is really finding out what the story is that you want to tell. I mean, I wrote many versions of my book before I landed on the exact story that was the one that I was really dying to tell. So I think that's the first component. Figure out what is your unique story that you want to get out there. And then secondly, I would say you want to know who your market is. Who are you trying to market this book to? And then you obviously need to decide whether you're going to self-publish or go through a publisher. And I'll have to say that it's not that easy for women to get published in the standard way, especially if your book is, I needed my book to be really raw and honest. I didn't want it to be marketable. And that was my big reason that I didn't want to go the traditional route. And I'll be honest, for a woman of color, and women, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. People don't realize that it's not that easy, but it isn't. I mean, I think there needs to be more in the form of publishing for women and all that, but that's a whole nother story. And then you need editing. Then you need somebody to help you with the cover. There's so many specifics to it, but it's definitely a lot of work. But I would say it's a labor of love, but definitely worth it in the end.
And in this process, how did you vet the company that you were going to be working with?
I vet everything according to relationships first, because again, I have a cardinal rule. If I don't like you, I cannot do business with you. If I don't want to talk to you, I cannot do business with you. So I usually feel that alignment pretty quickly on the first conversation or so. Then I go from there. So number one, can I work with this person? Do we have good communication? Do we have good energy? Do we have good rapport? And then I look at their process to see if it makes sense and if it's in alignment with what I want to achieve. I would say those are the two big things that I use to vet.
So you're doing that in business and you're doing that in life. In your life, you have reinvented yourself. And one thing I want to mention, you guys go and listen to the podcast, Design Your Physician Life, and you can listen to that episode. You've also been a car racer.
Yes.
So tell us about that reinvention there. I know that, it had a lot to do with your relationship, but you also had a personal relationship with the car itself.
Yes, yes. So I started doing it. My ex-husband was a big racing fanatic, so he asked me to go one time with him, and I fell in love with it. It was so much fun, and for me, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I didn't realize that, but in many aspects I am, and I love the precision that was involved with racing. So it was very much like surgery. You take steps that are repeatable. You learn to do each of those steps better and better every time till you've got all of the steps done so well that you're either able to complete the operation or complete that track. And I wasn't racing against other people in what I was doing. It's more of a racing against the clock and your time and all that. You want to get better and better at it. And it becomes a dance, just like surgery was. When you're doing a surgery really well, it just becomes something that you just do, and it just flows, and it's a beautiful thing when surgery is done well. And in that same way, I felt like it related to car racing because, again, it was a dance. If each corner you go through perfectly well leads you to the next corner. If you didn't execute the first one, you can't execute the second one. So I thought that was interesting, the correlation between surgery and racing. And I really enjoyed it. I did it for about 2.5 years up until COVID hit. And then it just was not feasible anymore.
That's awesome. So let's move now from the professional part to the personal part, because you spent a lot of years in one location, and then the time came where you had to move, and then you moved, and then you don't even know if you're going to be there for a long time in this place. But many physicians, we relocate a lot, right? Like we go to new jobs, and we go through the
Mhm.
residency, the medical school residency and fellowship, and we're relocating and all this stuff. But even after being such a long time, already so deep into your career, you've seen that you've had to relocate on your own in a place that you've had to reinvent yourself, because you have to redefine yourself where you're coming. And you don't come necessarily like as a introducing yourself as an ENT surgeon or as a medical spa owner. You might come more as a consultant to that area, and coming also as a book writer right now. Um, there's a lot of us who might fear that, right? Many women who are going through a divorce later in this life, and what do I do now? How to get the courage, or finding yourself again after you are now alone. Anything that you have here to say in terms of that, reinventing yourself, for people who might be listening?
So I think reinventing yourself starts with stripping yourself down away from how you're defined as a wife or mother in your career, whatever those things are. That's what I started to do. So I knew who I really was deep down inside, because we're very used to talking about ourselves in the context of a role that we play: mother, wife, daughter, all of those things, doctor. Those are all roles we play, but are those roles really defining who we are? And I really didn't feel like those roles really defined me. So as I stripped each one of those roles, which I didn't strip the mother role, I'm still a mother, obviously, but again, as my children moved out of the house, it was motherhood in a different way than it was in the past, where they really needed a lot of my time and attention. I would say I have more of a friendship role with them now because they don't need that much guidance. And it's interesting how it all shifts. So, but the bottom line is, I think that understanding yourself and understanding who you are without those things allows you to present yourself without the mask of the ego, if that makes any sense.
That's yeah, that's very important. And you're going to a place where you don't necessarily have the connections, right?
Mhm.
And then you have to rebuild all that one way or another. Anything for people who have, let's think about limiting beliefs. Oh, I'm too old, or I cannot. People say this even in their 30s. I don't get it, but people do. We hear them. I'm too old to start this, or I'm too tired, or I don't know if that's gonna work. Anything that you would tell them at this point when they're facing something unexpected in their lives?
I would say that it's very common for people to have limiting beliefs. We hear them, we internalize a lot of things that we hear on the outside. For me, the way I found my way out of that was being very present in my life and meditating a lot, honestly, just to find what my core truth was. And interestingly enough, once you really know that you're in alignment with what you're supposed to do, it's funny how what anybody else says, it really just doesn't matter anymore. You don't care what other people think. You know that you're on the right path. It feels good. You wake up every day joyful. It changes everything.
That's the way it is, and you have to do it, right? Like,
Hmm.
otherwise somebody will do it for you. So that's the point, like designing your physician life, and you are the one in control, and you've been able to do that. As we end here, we want to do a couple of things. One, if you have anything else that we haven't covered that you would really like to cover, especially as your book's coming out. And number two, how people can reach you.
Oh, yes. So one thing I want to say is that whenever people say something negative about what you're doing, it's usually about their own fear that they're projecting on you. So I think realizing that helps a lot with what you decide to listen to. And how to reach me, my website is the best way. It's drkalpanasundar.com, or Instagram, it's kalpana.unbound, and or LinkedIn, it's at Dr. Kalpana Sundar.
And where can they find the book?
Oh, the book can be found on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and it's called Beauty Unbound.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a great sport. You know, I thought there for a second, she's not gonna be able to make it, but you were great. Thanks for everybody who's been here. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, and thanks for being patient with me while I figured out how to get in.
No, it's wonderful. You know, it's been very valuable. I hope that people find inspiration to do their own, you know, reimagining, retransitioning, redefining themselves. Whenever we need that, we need to evolve. As I said, it's not the strongest who survives, really the ones who evolve, right? We know that. And with the times, that's what we have to do. And reinventing yourself is part of that. So guys, hashtag like, hashtag replay, go to our website, maxolver.com, and go and listen to the podcast, Design Your Physician Life, on our new YouTube channel. That's called Max Solver Mastermind. And also our new book, If You Have a Practice. I hope that you find some inspiration in those 45 questions. We have the link right there by Shandia. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. We'll see you then.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.